Hey everyone, welcome to The Path of Me. I'm your host, Wendy Hutchinson. Today I have the beautiful Jen Gagnon on my show. She is an incredible woman. She's a holistic health coach. She's a certified advanced Marconics level 4 practitioner, energy practitioner, and she's so much more. She's such a phenomenal woman. Welcome, Jen. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
I really appreciate you taking some time to show up and share your story. I feel like our stories are so similar. Whenever I read a blog or I look at your Facebook, or I'm like, oh my gosh, I think we're twins. But I wanted to go back to the beginning because it's really important to know who you were before you transformed into the person you are today. And what fascinates me is talking to people about their story of transformation. And I know it takes time, but let's go back to who you were, what you were doing before you kind of started on this path of spirituality, awakening, rediscovering who you really are as a soul.
So I am a mom of 3. And so my life had been devoted to being a mom, a wife, a business owner. As far as back as I can remember, my dream has been to have kids and a family, and this beautiful picture you paint of what that looks like. I was somebody who put a lot of pressure on herself to please others, so I try to be everything to everybody, until that just didn't work anymore.
And you kind of get lost in that process, don't we?
Yes. And that's exactly what happened. I found myself unhappy with who I was, with my life, although on the outside it seemed like I had everything, and I did.
Yeah.
But on the inside I was kind of crumbling and felt lost. I really didn't recognize the person looking back at me. I had put on weight that I wasn't happy with. I was uncomfortable with just everything. I focused on the negativity. I let stress and overwhelm consume me. I just wasn't in the greatest place.
You weren't yourself.
Yes.
Anymore. You lost yourself. It's so
exactly.
Hard. Did you have an awareness that it was happening, or was it a total surprise when you kind of woke up?
I kind of woke up and was like, wow, I had spent my life saying I would do things differently than my parents had done. And I woke up finding myself going down the exact same path. And
the programming is so deep.
It is.
It's so deep, and we don't even realize that we are becoming our mother.
Exactly. And I mean, I love my mom to death, but the losing yourself to, feed everybody else, and seeing the dark side of things wasn't something I was happy with when I finally woke up and realized what I was doing.
Yeah. It's hard to marry also those feelings when your reality looks great.
Right.
You've got a beautiful home. You've got beautiful kids. You're running a successful business with your husband.
Exactly.
You own a contracting business, right?
Yes.
Business on top of everything else. So to the outside observer, they'd be like, wow, that Jen, she's got her shit together. Look at her. She's beautiful. She's got these kids going on. Everyone's getting where they need to be and getting fed. And
yes.
But somehow it sneaks up on us, doesn't it?
It does. And the feeling of shame and guilt that came with that, I think really ate away at me too, because I kept myself asking, like, how dare I feel this way when I have so much? But I wasn't appreciating it fully the way I should have been, because I wasn't in a space to do that. And so I thought that my weight was the issue at first. And so I wasn't really taking care of myself. And so, I had seen Beachbody in the past and I had tried it, but kind of fell off the wagon. And I was definitely one of those people who looked at shiny objects and quick fixes. So the Atkins and the starvation and the calorie counting, and I had done it all. And I had lost weight in the past, but put it back on because those aren't sustainable long-term.
Right.
So I found a support group and started working out, and I started shedding the weight and started feeling good about it. But there was still something just nagging at me. I still wasn't in that space that I thought I should be, first of all. So I was putting a lot of expectations on myself. And I kept thinking, well, when I get to that size, when I get to that weight, maybe that's when, the big aha, the skies are going to open up. And
It's so hard because we're so good at knowing what's not working for us, but nobody really knows how to get out of that space.
right.
Unless we've done it, and you and I both have done it, thank God.
Exactly.
But it was like a slow, hard crawl.
Yeah, for
And
sure.
also,
And you fall and you get back up. And
yeah,
the thing is, I've always been very harsh on myself. So I expect to do it right and to do it right the first time.
of course.
And so
God, I think you're my twin.
and so having that support group really helped me, the times that I did fall down, then, the people who were in that group for working out really got me to be consistent. And so I wasn't seeing the results internally that I was seeing externally. And so I started digging a little deeper. And although I had always thought personal development wasn't for me, I don't know why, but that was just
because we're already perfect.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. It was supposed to be.
You don't need help.
And so I started reading the books, and I was just kept reading book on top of book and being fascinated by the information that was in those books.
It's like the sponge phase.
Yes.
Where all of a sudden
taking it all in,
absorbing all this information.
Yeah. And some of it was out there, and I was like, okay, I just need to stay open. And so I came to this point where I was like, I'm reading all these books and I'm still not seeing the changes that I, was expecting, or, and then it kind of dawned on me, well, if you're not doing the steps, if you're
There's the embodiment part.
Yes. Taking action, right?
Assimilate and practice the information.
Yes. Which is logic, right? I just wasn't seeing it that way. So I started implementing little things, and again, at the beginning, I was trying to do it all. So I was making these pretty schedules and making these pretty to-do lists, and then feeling guilty for not following through. And so I kind of took a step back and decided to take it a little slower. And I figured, well, with my workouts, I was just doing it consistently, not doing anything crazy, and I saw results. So maybe if I apply the same logic behind this, then, I'll get the same results. And so slowly I started seeing things shift in my life. And, it was a lot of books about positivity and self-esteem and paying attention to your thoughts. And I realized,
was there a pivotal experience or moment or book that really impacted?
I think it really was a combination of all of them. I think Wayne Dyer had the biggest impact because I read a lot of his books at first.
His books are so good.
Yes.
Great author.
And so when I started implementing all the things that he was talking about, and then I got into the Louise Hay's books, and, it kind of went downhill from there, or uphill, I should say.
It's interesting how you kind of keep being guided to the next thing and the next thing and the next thing, if you're paying attention. And I think the key was that you got to a place where you started to pay attention, because the nudges are always there. We're just pretty good at ignoring them.
Exactly. And it took me a long time, even through reading the books, I still didn't get the big picture. Like, I was getting bite size, and I think it's okay, because that's what I needed to get to where I'm at now.
Maybe that's what you were only prepared to assimilate, right? You had a very full life.
Yes.
You had 2 kids at the time. You have 3 now.
I have 3. So I had the 3 when I started with the personal development. I had started with the workouts a little bit before my 3rd, and then kind of fallen off, but the consistency and all that has been since my 3rd.
Really hard when you're a mom.
Because we have all
the demands of that. You have a business, you have a home, they have sports or activities.
Oh yeah.
Parties. I mean, gosh, those birthday parties.
I know.
It's like it's just a lot.
It is.
And I mean, we're so hard on ourselves.
We are. And, I think too, once I realized that I needed to commit time to myself and it wasn't being selfish.
Without guilt.
Yes. Because
Right.
it was always about, well, if I do this for me, then I'm taking away time
It was
from
kind
them.
of an either or situation. Like I'm
Yeah,
compromising my family by
right.
honoring myself.
And so when I finally came to this space where I was like, no, I matter too, and I'm taking that time, just things changed when I learned how, the excuse of having no time is just an excuse because we all have the same amount of hours in a day. It's
It's about
what,
priorities,
yeah,
right?
yeah, what's important to me. And, if I'm not healthy, if I'm not feeling good, then I'm not as good as a mom because I'm not as patient. There's all these things that come into
Yeah,
play.
and it's hard for us when we're in it to actually see the reality of who we are showing up as.
Yes,
Oh, actually, I'm kind of being a bitch right now.
exactly.
Because no one's on my agenda. I have
I
an
know, and how
agenda.
many
I'm
times
gonna
that
get
happened
done.
to me, and I'm like,
Oh, excuse
I
me.
used to beat myself up about it, feel guilty about, and
Yeah.
when I, with the spiritual side of things, I kind of came to this place where it's like, okay, I can recognize it for what it is. I'm being a bitch in the moment. I can snap out of that right now, or I can continue and go down the rabbit hole. And
Yeah.
being able to do that,
Self-awareness is so huge.
it is. It's like, it's one of those things you don't know how huge it is until you experience it over and over. And when you catch yourself, and a lot of times I'm talking to my clients and they're like, well, you can't pay attention to your thoughts all day and you can't catch yourself. And I'm like, it's not about every single moment. It's every moment you catch yourself, you're winning. At first I was
Yeah.
catching maybe myself once a day, going down the rabbit hole. And then the more I was doing it, the more I was catching myself. And I'm like, holy hell, like I'm going
Right.
down
When
this
you
rabbit
become an
hole.
observer, when you
Yes.
can detach like from yourself and become an observer of your thoughts,
Yes.
you are like, wow, I am pretty brutal
Yes.
to myself. Like I
I
wouldn't
know.
even treat my worst enemy the way I'm treating myself right now.
Exactly. And I had to come to this, this knowing that, okay, how would I speak to my daughter? How would I speak to a friend? And then kind of bring that in. And like you said, becoming the objective observer of
Yeah.
what I was going through without judgment, because that's the big thing. Like I was catching myself in the thoughts at first and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm such a bad person. Why am I thinking that? Why am I? And then it would just unravel.
Yeah. And then you keep spiraling deeper.
Yes.
It's so hard. It's such a process, but I think we all have to go through that in order to get to the other side of the realization, right? Like we've all been there. We've all been there. We are our own harshest critics.
We are.
And then the recognition of that, and then the guilt, and if you were similar, I'm asking the audience, if you're similar to Jen and I, where you are a perfectionist and you're already critical of yourself, it's really difficult to elevate and pull yourself out of it because it's such a patterned and conditioned response. And we're so used to being unconscious
Yes.
that we don't even know we're doing it. And it's just, I can't tell you how many patterns and programs, well, I can tell you because you've done the same thing. I had to unlock and release and just be kind to myself.
Yeah.
Just be kind through the process, because you're going to slow yourself down if you just continue to hold yourself to that ridiculous perfectionist standard.
Yes.
Like I know so many women do.
I know. It's just, I think we're programmed to think we have to do it all and do it all well. And I think another big thing is when you start doing this work, you find yourself judging yourself. I found myself judging myself, when I was catching myself in those thoughts. And even still, sometimes I'll catch myself and I'm like, wait a minute, it's not bad. It's not good. It's just as it is. And I can either choose to continue down that road or I can kind of go the higher route,
Kinder, right? And I think too, we have this perspective before we really fully understand what the path is and the truth of spirituality. We have a perspective around what that is. Like my perfectionist self was like, well, then I need to be perfect in this, And I'm like, wait a minite, that's not working out so well because I'm human, and I wouldn't allow myself to be human,
Yes. And I've found myself doing the comparing game on this journey, whether it be
for sure
just my personal growth or spiritually, finding myself saying, well, wait a minute, if she can do that, why can't I? There must be something wrong with me. I'm not good enough, or I'm not,
Or people are experiencing things differently. And then
yes.
you're like, I'm not feeling like that. I'm not, I'd freak out. What's wrong with me? What's wrong
Exactly.
with me? How come the whole group is having this experience? I'm over here. I'm a one-off.
Yes.
But then you come to realize that's because we are here to be ourselves.
Yes. And we all have our own experiences.
The pack.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. And different isn't a bad thing. Different, I think, is good, because like you said, we're all unique, and we're all, and the thing is we don't realize that other people sometimes are looking at us saying, oh, she's doing that. I can't do that. I found myself, when reading the books and doing the work and comparing, I would always, before I was able to realize how much I had, it was kind of like, well, you always want that next best thing. So you see somebody, they see things, and I'm like, oh my gosh, well, why can't I? Like, I need to see. Right. And then I came to the point that I understood that I'm receiving what I can assimilate, like you said earlier, in this moment. And I don't have to see, I just need to take in what I'm getting.
We all process everything. We're all getting the same information, but we're filtering it and processing it in a different way.
Yes.
Some
with
people
our
are seers, some people are clairaudient, some people are clairsentient, some people, and we're getting information. We're all receiving all the information we need. I think the biggest gift to myself was just accepting who I am and just staying in my own lane. Like, I just put my blinders on, and I'm like, I'm here to be me and nothing else. I'm not trying to be better, faster. I'm not trying to win. All these things shifted for me. And in that respect, I think we both have kind of let go of those human aspects, and it makes your life so much easier.
It does. It does. And when I find myself, kind of questioning something, I'll catch myself and just say, oh, that's an old thought, an old habit. And I'm like,
old paradigm. Yeah. And then you can just send it away. I think the recognition and the self-awareness is the key.
Yes.
You paid attention to your feelings.
Yes.
I mean, maybe sometimes we get to a place where we have no choice because we're losing it.
Yeah. Yeah. And I feel like, even now when things, shit hits the fan, because we're still living in this 3D reality, and, there's stuff going on around us.
Yeah.
I'm so grateful that I'm where I'm at, because I'm able to kind of remove myself from the chaos.
The detachment is so powerful.
Yes. And that took me so long to finally grasp, like, to
understand. We're so fortunate that we kind of made it out of the trenches, so to speak.
Yes.
But what a journey. And I think it's cool that you had your workout friends to support you through this journey, at least the physical part.
Yes. Yes.
That must have been really helpful for you.
It was, because on the other hand, the personal growth and the spiritual growth, I kind of underwent on my own. Because when you're surrounded with people who aren't on the same path, you're not going to talk about that, positivity book. Or
I'm sure people saw you shifting and changing.
I think so. I think people fell away.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that, because as you go higher, and human language is so limiting to me. I don't want to say higher, as we expand,
right?
As we expand in consciousness and vibration. It kind of triggers something, activates something in the people around us, and people start to feel threatened. I mean, you're just showing up as yourself. You're doing your work. You're trying to be a better version of you. But those people that you used to hang out with when you were in your old vibrational space start to judge or feel bad about themselves and then react to you differently. I mean, there's just all these triggers.
Or they think you've gone nuts.
Well, there's that. That's a given. I didn't even mention that one because that's like 100%, she's crazy. She's gone off the deep end. I mean, I certainly got that from my family, friends. It was really lonely for me to walk this path. I don't know how it was for you. Was it?
It was. And then when I found Marconics through Leah, that's kind of when I, there was at least one person I could reach out to,
Yeah. How did you find Marconics Energy?
I had done baby yoga with my third son, and Leah, who's a practitioner, teacher, was in that yoga class. And so I was seeing her post on Facebook, and one day I saw her post about Marconics recalibration, and I had never really looked into energy healing, knew nothing about it, never had Reiki done to me. But I was in that point of my journey where I was looking for a little something extra.
Like there's got to be something more.
Yep.
Out there.
And I don't know why that post just spoke to me. And a week later I was getting recalibrated.
Oh my gosh.
Crazy, because like I said, I never had any energy work done. I didn't even really comprehend, I think, the extent of what I was doing.
I don't think any of us could really comprehend what's going to happen after.
Right. And so I just went for it and hoped for the best. And
wow.
Yeah.
That was really bold. Yeah. But I think you're kind of called to it. You're either, it's going to, something inside of you.
Yes.
Sparked. And you're going to be like, I need that right now.
It's a knowing. It's just, yeah. Right. And so from that point forward, it was kind of.
That was a couple of years ago?
Yes, that was in 2016. So 3 years ago now.
Yeah. Tell me, let's talk a little bit about energy, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
What was it like for you? What was the recalibration process? Maybe you should explain what a recalibration is first of all.
The chakra unification and recalibration. So you have up to 51% of the karmic debris from this lifetime and past lifetimes removed, and you're permanently reconnected, with you at source, basically, and you potentially can integrate higher selves. It's just this big. I don't even know how to explain it into words. Like you said, it was,
it's almost basically bringing you back to your core truth.
Yes. Yes.
And it connects you back to your truth in a way, energetically, that anything that's not in resonance is going to start to shear off. And I mean, fast.
And that's probably why, some of those people were falling away so fast.
Yeah.
And I didn't get the magnitude of it. When I walked into that, I just knew that I needed it. I didn't know why. And again, I didn't understand half of what was happening.
Right.
But during the 2 days, it was just the sensations in my body, I'm not a seer, but I was having things, kind of flash in front of my eyes, colorful. I had these images of elephants, and those kept coming up actually afterwards. I was getting no touch.
What does that mean for you, that the elephants?
The elephants,
wisdom,
were my mother's mother. So my grandmother and I were very, very, very close. She passed away when I was 3, but the doctor said I literally had a depression at 3 because my grandmother passed away.
Oh,
yeah. And so that was just, for me, it was just significance that her spirit was always there.
Like a confirmation for you?
Yeah. Yep. And so that stayed with me for a bit. I felt, when she was, releasing the chakras and opening them up and uncapping them, I was just feeling some pulling in different chakras. It was leaving there and then seeing synchronicities like they were going out of style and kind of getting a knowing of what they were about. It was freaky.
It's like a deeper, you get a deeper understanding
yes,
of life.
Yes. And you pay
Connect and
attention more.
remember who you are. It's an awakening to remembering of who you are when you get
Yeah.
a Marconics recalibration, for
And it's
sure.
not, it's not fluffy and warm and cozy the
It's
whole
kind of
ride.
ugly sometimes.
Yeah.
There's a
Um,
shedding process that
yeah.
happens when you start to really honor your truth. And I
Yeah.
mean 100%, because so many of us are good at staying in situations that don't work for us, relationships, jobs.
Yeah. And I
Uh,
think shedding old versions of myself
yeah,
was really, really hard.
yeah.
Things that were so deeply ingrained, and in kind of
Mm.
deconstructing that and being able to let that part of me go.
And there's so many layers
Yes.
of
And you're never
different
done.
issues.
I don't think I'll ever be done. It's like sometimes I think I've mastered something and then whoop, something comes up and I'm
There's
like,
always another level, another
yes,
aspect to look at. We're always being triggered.
yes. And it's how well you manage that trigger that really
Yeah.
shows, how well you've mastered the lesson.
Mm-hmm.
And I came into this at the right time because the books I had read before and the work that I had done,
Kind
I
of
feel like
prepped you.
prepared me. Yes, to be able to handle, you go through this recalibration, you think it's going to be, all fluffy rainbows and unicorns because your life is going to be marvelous because now you're on the spiritual path. And then the first shit show happens and you're like, what is this?
I thought I was above this. I thought I was
Yeah.
letting go of this.
Um,
It
and
comes up
then,
even heavier, I think, because you're being really presented in a
yes,
very aggressive way. Every single thing
yes,
that's going to trigger you to release that
yes,
program, that belief system or thought pattern, or
the fears,
all
yeah,
that emotional stuff can get
yes.
churned up.
And
Tough.
having the tools that I had, I think made it that much easier for me.
Mm-hmm.
And I had the shit storms and then it kind of quieted down and I'm like, oh, this is really smooth sailing. For a bit there I was like, woo, this is good.
You made it. No.
Yeah.
And there's something else coming.
Yeah.
That was just a 2-week break.
Yeah. But looking back, I'm to the point where, okay, if, shit hits the fan, there's a reason behind it. There's something for me to get over. There's something for me to learn. There's something for me to release. And so when,
Yes.
you change your perspective,
The dialogue changes with
yes,
yourself, right? It's all of a
yes,
sudden it's like, what is this about?
yes, you
Not
start
why. You
looking at
stop
it a lot
asking
different.
why, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's all about figuring out what your growth is in that process, because it's all about growth and expansion and being able to say, okay, I've mastered this a little bit better. So the next time the universe sends it my way, like I'm going to ace this.
You know what's so awesome is your kids are at an age too where you shifting and becoming more aware.
Yes.
You're able to parent from a space of
Oh,
self-awareness. And
totally different.
that's something that I regret to some degree, even though I have a complete knowing that we were contracted to come together and have that interaction, parent and child interaction. But I was very deeply asleep as a parent. And it wasn't until my kids, 2012, were both leaving. The youngest one was going to college in 2012, that I was able to really kind of gift myself the time to focus. And if I had known what I know now, like where you are now with your kids, I could have parented them in a much more compassionate, loving, and accepting way. Right?
Yeah.
And
But like you said, we're all, it's happening exactly as it should.
yeah,
So
I
even if
understood
it's
that.
hard to,
But
sometimes
your
it's
kids
really
are so lucky. I mean,
yeah.
for those of you who are practitioners of Marconics Energy and who have these spiritual tools available and who can really see the higher perspective and share these lessons with your children and educate and love them and support them in that way, so beautiful. They are going to go out in the world and have all these
Yes.
tools to then conquer their lives,
Yes. And I feel like that's one of the greatest gifts too, is to be able to allow them to grow and expand at the age they are now. Cause I keep saying, like, if they understand even half of what I understand now at the age they're at now, they're unstoppable.
Well,
You
and I
know,
feel like inherently they have all this more knowledge than we do
yes,
anyway.
they
They're
do.
our
They
greatest
do.
teachers. So,
Yes, they are.
really, they do have everything they need and they're going to be phenomenal because
Yeah.
they came into this world phenomenal.
Exactly. And the other day it's funny because, we're all human. So I still get those moments where I get a little bit overwhelmed before I catch myself.
Yeah.
And I'm in the kitchen and I'm trying to do 20 things at the same time and stuff's falling. And my son, who's a very active 9-year-old, looks at me and says, Mom, what are you grateful for right now? Just to kind of snap me out of
Back
my
to center.
Yeah.
Focus on gratitude.
Yes, because I do that to them all the time. And so I just started laughing and I'm like, oh my gosh, you're just
They
too
really
much.
are our greatest teachers, right? That is
Yes.
so perfect.
Yeah.
That
And
is so perfect.
Here, sometimes I'll walk down the stairs and my middle daughter, I think, is very connected. She'll be outside on the front steps meditating because she's seen me do that before, in the sun. Or my oldest, we started doing yoga 3 times a week.
Awesome.
And so my oldest the other night before going to bed was like oming before going to bed. Like it was just, it's all these
that's
little
what
things.
I'm talking about. How beautiful that they're learning how to ground themselves, to be centered, to be present.
Yes.
They're all lifelong skills that are going to serve them really well.
Yes. And I think that, all these small tools are going to make them live life a little smoother, I think. Absolutely. Because they'll be able to shift their perspective in a moment, when you're focusing on gratitude, when you're seeing your glass, as having a glass rather than half full or half empty.
Right.
All these things that, they're kids, so they don't always get it. But I know, sometimes I'll be like, they're not getting it, but then they'll turn around and
surprise you.
Yes, they'll do this thing, or sometimes I think they're not paying attention and they'll just like, repeat.
Well, they're immersed in your vibration all day, every day. You're holding this beautiful vibration. So that is rippling out.
And I see entrainment with, my husband even. It's funny because the whole spiritual side of this, he doesn't quite get, which is fine. He'll get it in his own time. But there's definitely a lot of entrainment, when he starts talking about karma and I'm looking at him like, where did that come from? Or, he's sending me pictures of a sunset or clouds
it's all happening.
Yes.
Maybe not in a very verbal way.
Right.
But energetically it's happening and they're shifting and anchoring us here. Yeah. For sure. Because we're kind of out there.
Yeah.
So we're blessed, to have these partners that are willing, who signed on the dotted line before they realized they signed on the dotted line. Walk beside us on this journey. I'm very, very grateful for my husband. And
yes, I am too.
It took a lot for him. He's a very linear thinker. Yes. He's an accountant, so this stuff is really hard for him to accept because there is no explanation for a lot of it.
Right.
No logical explanation. There's an explanation, but
there is,
it doesn't fit in a box.
Right.
It doesn't fit in an Excel spreadsheet.
Yeah, no.
So it's just challenging.
Yeah.
And what were some of the toughest challenges for you going through this process?
I think for me it was hard to be alone, number one, because again, on this spiritual path, it was very lonely. I have the Marconics family, but outside of that, talking about this stuff isn't something that I'll, kind of call on my best friends and say, hey, by the way, this happened to me in meditation.
They don't want to talk about that stuff. They want to talk about the 20-year-old stuff.
Kind of having the people fall to the wayside at the beginning was hard because as much as I understood, I didn't.
It's still sad. You still mourn the loss of those people, even though you know that it's time and it's okay. So
I think that those were probably the hardest things. And at first was the comparing game. When I started, it was kind of like, okay, why am I not seeing that? Why am I not, getting the information the same way everybody else is? And I think it took me quite some time.
Or not having the same ascension symptoms or, whatever it is.
Is there something wrong with me? am I supposed to be here? Am I kind of a fraud? I think that was another big one.
I think we all go through that, and then you finally get to a place where you understand you are here to be you.
Yes.
No one else. Stay in your lane. That's where I really got that message. When I had I think it was my I am merge or something. It was like, there was some strong commands that came in.
Yeah.
Speak your truth.
Yeah.
One. Stand in your power was another. And the other one was something like stay in your lane. I can't remember, but there were like three really, almost like I was being yelled at by that higher self. Come on.
I've gotten that too. Yeah.
Like they were, kind of taking me to task. Like, it's time.
Yeah. I've had that. A lot of that comes like through meditation where I'm like, oh, okay, I get it. Like, don't yell at me.
Yeah. It's your higher self, because sometimes they just kick your ass. They're not real fuzzy.
Exactly.
It isn't a love fest all the time. It's kind of like,
get on the program already.
Yeah, get on board. We're kind of waiting for you. So really interesting. So you're a practitioner. You're a Marconics practitioner as well.
Yes.
And when did you go and get your training? How long after you?
February of 2018. So the funny thing is I had gotten recalibrated and I was getting not monthly no touches, but almost, kind of to maintain. And in January of 2018, I woke up one morning having this feeling that I had to do something to do with energy. And so I sent Leigh a message and I'm like, is Reiki a good way to start for somebody like me who has nothing? Because in my mind, to do energy work, you had to be born a psychic or a medium or have some sort of like superpower. And she's like, you cannot do anything but Marconics. And I'm like, but I can't. Like, it's, I need to start, at the lower.
You wanted the starter pack?
Yeah. I need like the 101 for dummies level. And Leia's like, no, I've told you before, you can do this. Like, so I looked up, and it was probably towards the end of January, because when I went to the website, they were having the intensive training that following week. And so I signed up for level 1. And then Leia's like, no, you have to at least do level 1 and level 2. And I wasn't signing up to practice. When I signed up, it was
for yourself?
Yes, for me and my family, to kind of understand better what I had gotten myself into.
Right, 2 years ago.
Yeah. And so I signed up for level 1 and 2. And then when I got there, the first day I was scratching my head looking around going like, what did I sign myself up for? Like, and then by level 2, I'm like, well, I have to go through and finish through level 4. So I was staying down there for level 1 and 2. And then for level 3 and 4, because of the kiddos and everything, I had to drive back and forth every day.
That must have been hard for you.
It was like 2.5 hours back, one way.
Oh my gosh.
And so, but I was gung-ho, I was going to get it done because I just felt that I had to get it done.
You felt called to do it.
Yeah. And so I guess the rest is history, right?
It is. Look at where you are now.
Yeah.
It's changed my life.
Yes. Mine too. I mean, I am
in an incredible way. And I think the difference for us is we're not talking about healing your body.
No.
With Marconics. This is apples and oranges. People in other modalities who feel like we are acting like we're superior, that is not true at all. No. We are a completely different kind of energy modality.
Right.
We are doing ascension work with your morphogenetic and energetic field. Our goal is not to heal your body. And Jen and I are both practitioners. We're not representatives of the Marconics organization. So I want to make sure we put that disclaimer out. You can find out more at marconics.com if you have an interest in taking a class or learning more about it. But we're speaking from our experience here. And it's just a different, what we want to do is offer you this tool for ascension.
Yes.
If you're thinking there's something more out there for me, or I'm going to all these energy thing, seeking something, and it's not working for me, or you feel like there's something more, that's when you should consider Marconics. Marconics is going to take you to a multidimensional level. We're going to plug you in energetically. We're going to remap that morphogenetic, energetic field for you and reconnect you to you. It's a whole different type of experience. We're not here to heal you.
Right.
Right? It's for alignment.
Yes. And I think, sometimes people do, heal on a physical level, but it's because they've done the deeper work and they've healed on a deeper level.
There's alignment that has to happen.
Yes. Yeah.
And as a byproduct of that alignment, sometimes you're going to get physical healings from it. Things happen that you can't really explain.
No, I know.
But
And
the key is to come in with no expectation.
Yes. That's like the number one thing I always tell the clients. You cannot expect anything, as I don't expect anything.
Right.
You go in with the only expectation of receiving
whatever is being gifted to you when you have that session, right?
Yeah.
Because then you're just allowing your team to kind of show up and work on whatever's appropriate for you.
Right.
I'm really clear about that. So I haven't had issues with people being disappointed or anything.
Yeah, I haven't either. Because they'll ask me, how's the session? And I always say, I probably had, 20 sessions and none were the same, because in that moment I needed something different. And so you can't know, and we all experience it differently. Again, like we were saying earlier, some people see, some people feel.
But also, you're right. Every session is different. So you're not it's not a cookie cutter thing. We're the conduit, and we just run the energy, and then your team really decides what is going to be addressed here.
Exactly.
Emotional.
And a lot of times we don't even know what needs to be addressed. We have no idea. And then during the session, you either go, oh, that's what it was. Or afterwards, sometimes a week after, I'd be like, I'd see something and I'm like, now I get it.
Right. Something is triggered later and you have an understanding. Or you don't even tie it back to the energy session.
Right.
You've kind of gone along and you've healed this relationship with someone, or someone toxic has fallen away, or your job changed and it looked traumatic, but it was actually taking you to that next place for your growth or expansion, or you've left a relationship and losing that toxic person created space in your life for Mr. or Mrs. Wonderful to show up. You just don't know, right?
Exactly.
I just think the universe is always conspiring for you in some way.
Yes.
We don't always understand it on a human level.
No, definitely not.
I know. Jen, talk a little bit about your coaching. I want to promote your services. So tell us a little bit about what you do and how people can reach you.
So I work with women, and I always say I work with the old version of myself pretty much. When you're stuck in a rut and you're not happy and things aren't going your way, and you've tried all the quick fixes and you're kind of you're in that space where you're like, okay, I need something better. I need something that's sustainable.
Right.
I kind of combine everything that I've done for myself to help women, because I'm a firm believer that you can't thrive and be aligned in one area of your life without being in every area. So if you're lacking in one, you're lacking in all.
You're like a full package guide.
Yeah. So I
kind of set the template already because you did it.
Yes, exactly. And so I like to really go through the mind, body, soul aspect of things. So we'll start out with mindset, because I think if your mind isn't in the right space, you'll never be able to get anything done physically or spiritually.
Right.
So we work, first of all, on removing anything that no longer serves you, and really getting crystal clear on what it is that you desire. Because I think a lot of times we think we know what we want, but we don't, because everything's coming from ego.
Mm-hmm.
So we get clear on your true soul desires. And then we move on to the body portion, where we look at, the toxicity that's coming at you, whether it be your foods or the medicine or, anything in your environment. And we kind of, remove those, but I like to do it in a way where we add the good stuff versus removing what's not so great, because I feel like inevitably, if you're adding in all the good stuff, the bad stuff falls to the wayside.
Right. Well, you feel better too.
Yeah. And so I think, I'm a firm believer in moving your body, whatever that looks like for you, so my clients get into this routine, so we implement things slowly.
So
but
much of it is habits too, right?
Yes.
Creating new behavior patterns and thought
Exactly.
patterns and
Yes.
physical patterns.
Yep. And
So
I'd like to take it slow, because I used to be a fast and furious, let's do it all, then crash and burn and have to start over 6 months later. And so I try to help my
we're
clients
so
not do
alike.
that. So I try to take it slow and steady. And then with my clients that are ready for this, because not everybody's called to Marconics. Most of the clients that I work with are, though, because, my energy's out there, and that's
you're attracting someone in resonance usually.
So the energy work is a big part of this too. The Marconic no touch sessions help them with the shedding of density and raising their vibration, so they can get to this space where things, that are more aligned with them kind of enter their lives. And, we work on grounding and really taking care of our energy the same way we take care of our bodies and the same way we take care of our minds. And I think the combination of all that.
Wow, you really provide a whole suite of tools and coaching, which is awesome. I think your practice is called Whole Health with Jen.
Yes.
And we will include her links to her website and her Facebook page and all the ways you can reach her, both down below, and also at the end of the video. I'll put everything there and in the description when I publish the video down below. So you can just click on a link and get to her. I highly recommend her. She's phenomenal. I'm sure it's really rewarding for you to see these transformations in your
It is. It is. It's the best reward I could get. When I get these messages from these women that are like, oh my gosh, I spent all morning crying because I actually love the reflection looking back at me. Or, they have these aha moments during a no touch session where they're like, they felt, what was holding them back kind of just be released. It's just an amazing feeling, when they say that they feel happier than they've ever felt, or that they're finally getting it. It's kind of like, oh my gosh,
beautiful.
like, yes,
watching that transformation process. And sometimes, sometimes it takes a year.
Yeah.
I mean,
it can take time.
You'll work with them but like you were saying with your reading, the information comes in, but then the knowledge and the embodiment and the knowing comes a little bit later, because it's a process of unpacking and evolving.
It takes time, and we're all going at different speeds, and we're all getting it, at a different rate, which, but it's always amazing to see, what they're getting.
What would be some words of wisdom you would share with somebody who is kind of where you were in the beginning, just kind of knowing that what they're doing isn't working? I think knowing where to turn.
The number one thing is stop looking at the shiny objects and running in the directions for the quick fixes, because nothing that's worthwhile in life is quick or fast. It all requires work and dedication and commitment. And the second thing I think is one of the first things that I read that has stuck with me till now is change the way that you look at things, and the things that you look at will change.
Wayne Dyer. That's one of my favorite quotes.
1000% true. And every time I find myself in a situation, I always ask myself, am I looking at this from the right angle? And is this just my perspective? And most of the time it is. If I change my lens and I look at it from a different, from a different angle, it changes the situation entirely.
100%.
Yeah. So 100%. I think those are the two things that I think you need to.
Such a great quote.
Yes.
Sure. Thank you for sharing that. Well, who have you become now? You've gone through this whole transformation. If you were to express who you are now compared to who you were then, I mean, I can't imagine what's changed for you in this.
It's really hard to put into words. It's knowing that I'm exactly where I need to be in every given moment, knowing that whatever's happening around me has, no bearing on me unless I allow it to. Showing up every morning, waking up and being grateful to just be alive and to have an opportunity to do things a little bit better than yesterday.
Yeah.
Knowing that what I do matters, and that if I can inspire just one person today to live a better life, then I've succeeded. Really trying to create a ripple effect, I think, in sharing the knowledge and the tools that I've acquired so that others can get to this space, because it's so freaking phenomenal to be able to
No.
be here. It's,
You want to share it with
yes,
the world.
yes,
You
because you're
want
like,
people to
if
be able
you
to
only knew what's
feel this
possible.
way. Yeah.
Yeah.
So fantastic.
So I think like
beautiful.
waking up and being ready to hit the ground running.
Well, you're so
Personally.
inspiring to me.
Thank you.
You're always working out, posting all your accountability videos, and
Well, I think accountability is huge in anything we do. And so,
for sure.
yeah.
But you're inspiring people just by being you. So thank you.
Well, thank you.
Thank you for showing up for today, and thanks for having show up in the world. I really appreciate you being here, and I think we're going to end on that. That was such a beautiful summary of what's possible.
Yes.
For anybody.
Yes, because I'm no more special than anybody out there. And I say that all the time. If I was able to do this, then if you decide and you commit, you can too.
I feel the same. It's just like if this, I always considered myself this average person can do it. There's nothing
right
that's not achievable, right?
The only thing in our way is ourselves.
Absolutely. Well, to my audience, thanks again for supporting my show. I love y'all. I hope you guys have a great day. Be kind to yourselves. Hope you got some great nuggets of wisdom from my friend Jen here. And we will see you all next time.
Thank
Bye.
you. Bye.
Talk to you later.